Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. And tonight we're going to continue with part 2, staying found, and how to read a map. So as I spoke with you about in the previous video, we spoke about how to use a compass and basic use of a compass and how it works and the fundamentals of a compass. And tonight we're going to do the same thing when it comes to map reading, okay? Before we get off and get going, the map I'm using is a 1/25,000 scale map, and this is Swiss, okay? So although the principles are the same, there are some differences with the Swiss map system, and we'll see that when it comes to how the map is laid out, and when we talk about also how to find your grid and how to write that grid out. So we'll see that as we work on this. So hang in there and we'll continue right on. So we're going to try this out, this format right here. And as you can see, this is a pretty standard map. You can find them in different scales within Switzerland. I have a collection of maps. This is how I keep them, how I store them. I keep them inside of a waterproof container that I made myself. You can use Ziploc bags, you can use anything. And I have maps that if I'm going to go to an area, I have them sort of set up. This is the same as you see here, the remonta here. You actually see they're all coded, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. And you'll see also, this is a very close code right here. Then on the other side here, I have a few other maps. These are all topographic maps, hiking maps. Some of them are specifically for hiking, and some of them are used for, this is a specific hiking map right here. And you see how it's laid out here. 1 kilometer equals 3 centimeters. So you have to remember that, especially when you're using a protractor. This is a protractor right here from Rapex, which is Swiss Topo. This Swiss Topo is the ones who produced these maps right here. And this map right here is a Montendre and Col de Macharoux in Valorbe. This is a hike that I do as part of the Crête de Jura, or the crest of Jura, the Jura crest. And this is the halfway point right here from Menton to Valorbe up to Menton, and after that you have another part which goes on down to Sancerre. But anyway, this map also includes, and you can see here, it tells you what maps it includes actually, and this is it's a double-sided map right here. You have the Valorbe area, Valorbe, along the Jura. Now this line right here is a border. Okay, this is the border with France on this side and Switzerland on this side right here. So you're right on the border, and this is called the Vallée de Joux actually. And the map goes all the way to along the crest. You can see it in the 3D right here. And what it does, we follow this line here. We come up the valley, we come up, and then we follow the crest all the way to Col de Macharoux and this map system right here. And it has and also within it, you can see there are several types of excursions right here along. And this is following the crest of Jura right here, which is a 14-day hike that you can do. Really, really good hike, actually. It goes a little further, actually, and you can follow it all the way down. And I highly suggest that hike right there if you really want to have a nice leisurely hike. But anyway, you can see right here how it's laid out. Okay. And this map right here, what it tells us is that, well, it gives us, it's a Wanderkarte or a carte d'excursion. It's a hiking map, hiking maps actually, and it's put out. It's an official Swiss hiking map, also produced by the Confederation, by Switzerland, and this is number 3316T of the series of maps that we saw here on here. Okay, it's waterproof, this map is, so you don't have to do much to it. It's pretty much already protected, and it's a double-sided map. So you have to lay it out with, and you can lay it out with, you know, it covers up 2 zones, which is really nice. And like I said, I usually need the next map right here. And if you look at this right here, the way this falls right here, this is, there is not another part of this map right here. So that's when I have to go in and use another map altogether to get the rest of this. So it's a well marked out trail, and we can talk about that in another series actually. But anyway, this is one of the specifically for hiking that I have and I use, and it's a really good map system, and you can get them and any of the shops where you can order them online. Also, with Swiss Topo, you can download maps. You can download digital maps. You can that you can print and this kind of stuff, and you can buy them online. They're not that expensive. They're very good maps and very well made, and they're kept up to date. This one right here is a 2012 actually, and this is a 2014. I probably could find this right here. If I look, yeah, I can probably find maybe even a later date, you know, something closer to the time I'm in, not time zone I'm in. So anyway, just for a little information. Anyway, so when we talk about maps, scale is very important, because the better the scale, of course, the better it is for us to use the map, and easier for us to use the map, okay? Now you gotta imagine scale. These are broken up, and this is 1 to 25,000 scale map right here. That means, which is quite obvious. For example, if imagine having a 1-to-1 map, that'd be a 3D map you could probably carry in a pair of glasses or something like that, and it's laid out in front of you in that kind of scale, 1-to-1. That's basically for every 1 meter you have 1 meter. Now you're not gonna be able to fold that map or carry it with you, but you get the idea. And this is 125,000 scale map. Really good map for hiking is a 125,000 scale map. And the protractors right here, like you see right here, and it's not easy to see like this, but here we can see a little better. This is one of the protractors right here. This is one, like I said, that's produced by Swiss Topo, and you can order these very easily. And it has a 360 degree on it, and then it has the 125,000 scale, 1 to 50,000 scale, 1 to 100,000 scale. Then it's got the 150, 120, 125,000, and you have this right here for measuring 125,000 scale. So for every 1 millimeter is 25 meters, is what it means. So, so for every 1 kilometer, it's 25 kilometers. So very simple system to use. Okay. Now let's go into what's important about a map. Scale is very important, okay? And in scale, we have to be able to, you know, like I said, choose something that's going to be easier for us to use. And the 125,000 scale map is very simple. Now, if you get a 110,000 scale map, it's going to be even more precise, better map. But it's much more difficult to find hiking maps in 110,000 scale. You'll see primarily in the 125,000 scale maps. Or the problem with the 110,000 scale map is that you'll have double the maps on you, okay? So if you want to hike across an S section right here, okay, you're only going to get half of this, okay, with a 110,000 scale map. So that's a problem that you'll have, or even actually less than half. So that's a problem that you'll see also. But let's look at a map. Let's look at what the map's made up of, okay? First of all, you have the map name. You have the map number and the map name. This is Romont, because this is where this map is in Romont. And if we look on the back here, you'll see this map falls, this number, 1204, is this section right here on the global scale of Switzerland, okay? And so if you're going to be working in an area, of course, you're going to want a series of maps that works in this area also, okay? So here we have 1204, but right next to it is 1205, and that's why you'll see that I have 1205 right here, and then I have 1206 next to it. So those are 3 maps that 4, 5, and 6, which line up right here. The reason why I have these maps, because these are a really good hiking area, and I also there's a really good hiking trip from near Thun, from near Interlaken, which moves up through here, and it's a really good part. It's part of the religious route that people take, the Saint-Jacques de Compostela, and this is part of that route that travels through here, actually travels through where I live, going on, working his way all the way down to Geneva, and he works his way all the way down to Spain in Compostela. So this is part of that route. Now there are several routes, the Saint-Jacques, and this is just one of them, okay? And these are the pilgrim trails. And I've done this several times, this area, so I do have maps covering this area from Schwarzenberg all the way over, and really good hike. Problem is that it's actually a very clean hike, I'd say, because you're outdoors, but you're along the road, you're not really backcountry trails and stuff. That's the only problem with it. That's why I prefer doing the Jura hike, because you're really away from everybody and you're really on backcountry trails. We'll talk about that another time. I'm going to do a video specifically on the Jura hike here and give you guys more of a touristic information about it. But anyway, getting back to right here, this is the back of the map right here, and it tells you all. So if you're going to be working in a specific area, you just find the map number, and then you go to the store, or you go online and you look for this right here and you order it or you buy it, and you have the map of the area you're going to be visiting, working in, hiking, whatever. So that's what we have. Now, if we open the map up, now these maps are all written in German, and these actually are Swiss. The Swiss language has 4 languages, and then what they'll do is they'll slip in English also. But this is in French, and it's probably got some German in it also, and Italian. And so it's got a lot of basic information in it, okay? And it goes over some other specific type of hiking maps that are built into it also. But anyway, we're going to open this up and we're going to show you, because one of the major things you want to find besides the map name, which is very important, okay? Let me fold this like this so you can see the top of it, okay? The map name is Roman, okay? Now, in the United States, we have a different setup when it comes to the map system or topographic maps, and that you'll see a set of letters, okay? It might be AA, AB, AC, and this goes all the way across the country and down the country in these letters. So the map name, especially the military map names, will be a group of letters here. And when you're writing out, and we'll see that a little bit later, we'll talk about that. When you're writing out the grid location, you will use the map, that first part of the map name, which is going to be in those letters. Now, in Switzerland, you don't have to do that. And the reason why that is because across Switzerland is a set of numbers that stretch across, and they don't repeat themselves whatsoever. So you will never repeat yourself in the primary 6 digits of any grid square, okay? And like I said, we'll talk about it a little bit later. But now we're going to concentrate on is what is on the map. What are we going to see on the map, okay? So on the map, we're going to see the map name, okay? And then we'll see what's adjacent to it, okay? We're talking about what's adjacent to it. And then over here, we'll see the scale. And then on the other side, we'll see that it's page 1204, like we spoke about before, okay? Now, and then on the map, you'll see it's pretty standard, okay? It's pretty standard information across the map. Now, when you get to the bottom of the map, okay, there are other information here. Normally what we would find when we use a map, first of all, this map right here talks about scale. So we can actually use a protractor or even a piece of paper, and you can measure, okay, to come up with your scale, okay, and this kind of stuff. So this is the scale is written on here. It also tells you at the bottom of the map and on each side what the adjacent map page is going to be. This one says Moudon to the south, and like I said, it says Payen to the north, okay? Now what they've done is they've primarily named these maps after a larger city, which is inside the map. And this one happens to be Romont. Romont is a larger city, and it's sort of a siege of this area right here within Canton Fribourg. But we also have a good bit of Canton of Vaud in it also. Cantons are states. So the key to maps, which is a very important thing to have, a key to a map on the Swiss maps are located on the inside sleeve. And there you see it, okay? The key to the map, okay? We see what we're seeing on the map, okay? Important things, all right? In the Army, we learn, and this is what I think is very simple and very easy to learn is that, first of all, you have all dark lines are all man-made or built-up areas, from roads, types of roads, to buildings, to objects. So if you have a black square or black object, that's going to be a primary man-made or built-up area. And here you'll see it. And they'll give you what a chateau looks like, what a chapel looks like, what a monument looks like, okay? What a tower looks like, what ruins look like, okay? And then you have sports facilities, stadiums, ski pistes or ski runs, and then you have radio stations and emitting towers for TV, and then you go into, golf terrains and this kind of stuff, all right? So also within that, you have limits, and these are areas that you're not allowed to go into or you shouldn't go into, and they are built up. They are, for example, you can go through these areas. They're just letting you know that this is a canton area or a district area. That's the city limits or the whatever limits of the canton, and this is the state limits right here. And then, of course, you have the national park limits and the commune limits, and they're going to have a little bit different form, okay? It's like our state lines and parish lines or county lines, this kind of stuff, or whatever. And then, of course, you see here in the bottom how things are written, and then over here we have railroads and different terrain features. The terrain features are what we're going to talk about primarily on here, and then map features like that. And then that's basically what you find in the key. One thing you don't find on a Swiss map, which I find a little bit strange because I've never found one, and that's declination. And we're going to talk about declination a little bit later, but declination is the difference between grid north and magnetic north. Okay, so we'll talk about that a little bit later when we're converting grid to map or map to grid, and then this changes with time, by the way. This changes with time, but so for the moment, we're lucky because where we're at right now, it's 0 degrees, which means there is no declination. So you can go straight from the grid reference to the magnetic reference and vice versa, and there's no change in that information. So it makes it much more easier for you. Something else these maps have on them, if I can fold it over here, and that is, it tells you how to read a map. This is something I haven't seen on maps before, but the Swiss are very good about this, and they tell you how to read a map, okay, and how all this is read, okay? So it's very, very simple. Anyway, the only part is if you don't speak French, you're going to be sucking a little bit. Anyway, so this is basic information for what you find on a Swiss map, okay? But what we're going to do is we're going to get this map around, and we're going to look at some features on it, okay? Now, I told you Romont, and this is down here in the bottom, and this is the city of Romont. You have the old town, and then the major city, and you have the train that runs through it, okay? Now, I live up here in this, I live right here, actually, in this area right here. And sometimes I talk to you about, we hear the military shooting in the ranges. Well, that's this area right here. So I'm very close to a military shooting range, and so that's what you hear. Now, let's talk about what we see on a map, okay? First thing, we see colors, all right? And what colors do we see on it? We see whites, we see blacks, we see browns, we see blues, and we see greens, okay? These greens, of course, are forested areas, all right? Now, these can change with time. They can get larger, they can get smaller, but in general, since 2012, it looks like this right here, okay? So all these areas right here are forested areas. All these wider areas or tanner areas, these are all fields. And there are lots of fields here because lots of farmland, okay? Now, here you see the built-up areas, all in black, okay? These are buildings. This right here happens to be part of the military caserne here. It's a huge garage right here. And this road right here leads up into the, into the shooting range right here. And then further down, you also have another caserne, another area over here, which is military. It's actually just, I don't know why I don't see it. It's actually just off the map right here. It's in this area right here. Okay. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. So also hard lines we see roads and road structures, okay? So we see a double line, which is these double lines are a line, two lines, quite thick right here. This is a cantonal road. It's like a local county highway or something like that. So that's represented by that. And then of course you have the train line running through here, okay? And you can see that if you come here to the train station and you see the train line which leads, and then you see the Canton road which leads up also. Lots of small roads also. These dark solid line roads are small roads. They're all paved. And then you'll have broken roads like in the forest here. You'll have some roads. Now, there are lots of paved roads and there are broken roads within the forest here. So you'll see those. Now here in Switzerland, speed limit wise, it's 80 is the maximum on the Canton road. And then in cities, it goes from 50 down to 30, 20. That depends. And you definitely want to stay below 50 because you get a ticket here is $250 at the beginning. So, and then it goes up from there. So, but then let's just stick with what we're talking about here. Okay, so you'll also see something called contour lines. The contour lines are the brown lines, which represent in a 20,000 scale map. It represents the elevation of the land actually, and what it does with the shading, it sort of gives you an idea. After a time of working with a map, you get the impression, you start seeing the three-dimensional aspects of a map, which is very good. And here I can see it very clearly. You can see how the higher ground running through here. This is a higher. It's called Romont. It's a round mountain. That's why it's called that. And you can see the valley that runs up here through this area here. And like I said, you have the hills. I live on a hill, up on the hill, an elevated area. And then this whole area here is pretty much elevated. All right. If you look over here, you'll see this is a valley that runs straight up through here. This hill comes up and it goes down and there's a valley and there's a steep area right here. The contour lines, they're further apart, which means the more gradual lay of the land, which means the hill, it's, you know, more gradual means it's going up at a more gradual height, okay? But the closer the lines means it's much steeper going up. So here you have a cliff face that really runs through this valley right here on both sides. This is not as steep on this side as it is on this side right here. It's very, very steep. And this is a very cliffed in road right here, okay? A lot of people don't like taking this road. This is actually it's the Rue de Berne. A lot of people don't like taking this road because they get the heebie-jeebies. I've spoken to people who don't like coming through the valley here because they get this weird feeling when they come through it being closed in, because this is quite steep. Okay, personally myself, I don't have a problem with it, but anyway, this is a good map that represents all these kind of things. Okay, so, and of course all the blue lines are all water. Now we consider blue lines danger lines also because you can get hurt or even death if you don't pay attention traveling across the blue lines. And here you have a canal and river system runs through here. And then you have lots of streams that run through this whole area. And it's lots of water here. It's it's lots of water. There's a beautiful little river that runs along through here also. You see this right here, runs through here. It's a really nice little river, not very deep, but it's a very nice little river that runs through there. And a lot of the farms are using it, connected to it. And you have lots of sources of water here also. Okay, so this is the basic information of what you see on the map. Okay, these colors. Okay, now if you see a red zone, that's a danger zone or an off-limit zone. Now I don't see anything that says it on here, even though we have a military installation here. There's nothing that states that it's off limits. Okay, I look on the back, the upper side of it too. I don't see anything that says, yeah, there's nothing on here. And I have not seen very many maps that have this on it. So that I'm not seeing. So anyway, so this is very basic information about the map, okay? And as you also see, you see the horizontal and vertical lines which run through it, which form the 125,000 scale grid square. Okay, these are called grid squares. And that's also very important, especially when you want to determine what your position is, okay? Or you're looking for a position on the map, all right? This all plays a part in it, okay? So that's the basic information for what you see on these maps. All right. So let's talk about in the next video a little bit more in depth information when it comes to map reading, and we're going to show you some little tricks and trades of how to do that. So I'll be right back with you. So as you look up here, I've written down map features or land nav features. Okay, we're going to use on this map right here. There are features on here that we're going to need to be able to use when we are writing out, when we are to help us in our navigation, okay, of using a map, okay? And that's the map features or land nav features, okay? Or terrain features is what we primarily call them in the Army, okay? And what we're gonna do, we're gonna use our hand, our fist to talk about this, okay? So, and then I'm gonna show you them on the map here also, all right? So the first thing is a ridge line, okay? A ridge line is a crest or a section of high ground hills that run together, all right? And if we look on the map here, we will see that this is a small ridge line right here. And then you have ridge lines that run all through here, okay? And on these these ridge lines, you have hilltops, okay? Like what you have here. This is the highest point. And then you have sub points also, or lower points, okay, along the hilltop. Now, usually how you can see this is look at the contour lines. Now, if we look over here, let me fold this map up and show you real quick a really good example, all right? And here we see it. This is a ridge line. You see the contour lines. They sort of they circle around on themselves, okay? And they form a hilltop. And here we actually have a point, and it's 702. That's 702 meters, okay? So usually if you see a point surrounded by a circle, that's telling you the height of that hilltop. So this hilltop is 702 meters. So we have the ridge line, we have a hilltop, we have an additional hilltop on both sides of it that form that ridge line or form that the ridge. And between these two, it forms a saddle, like on a horse. And this is the between two hilltops. You have a higher one, a lower one. It could even be the same height. Doesn't really matter. It forms a saddle, okay? So here we can clearly see the ridge line, the hilltop, other hills, which are encircled, high points, and then you see how they form a saddle between them, okay? So there you go. That's already covering 3 points of the 10 points, 10 terrain features that we primarily use on a map, okay? If you look at this hilltop right here, you see that it goes down, and you see how the contour lines on this side are very close together, which means the land is much steeper. On this side right here, they're much spread out, which means the land it has a gentle slope to it, okay? So quite often between two hilltops, between a ridge line, and here you have a hilltop right here, a ridge line here, following this route right here, and you have another one over here in the backside. All right, you see, so here's also, you see the contour lines, how they lead around, how this moves up right here. You have a valley in between two ridge lines or right here. So this valley right here is formed in between the two ridge lines. Here, like in the area between my fists, okay? And here you see, that's another terrain feature, a valley. Usually what you find in a valley quite often is a river or water. And here we see quite clearly, we see a blue line here. Okay, so here we have ridge lines, we have hilltop, we have a saddle, we have a valley, and we have water. So we've already covered a lot of terrain features just in this one little area right here. Okay, so if we back off over here a little bit, I spoke about this before, these contour lines here, because they're so close together, this means the land slopes down very, very quickly, very, very rapid. This is a cliff face, okay? And here you see you can see a little better right here, you have some debris, some rocks, some crevices here. So this is a very steep area right here on the map. You see it has darkened up right here. This is the valley floor right here. We have a water going through it. And so here we have the point of land that comes out. All right, the water runs through this area right here. It's still a high point, but it runs through. It comes down here to the main waterway here. But here you see the cliff face. And this is another terrain feature, is a cliff face. One you have to be very, very careful with, especially if you're traveling, because you get here, it's a pretty steep climb or steep descent. So you have to work your way and use the land features and use the map to help you guide you. Follow the river down, and you'll know you'll go down into the valley, okay? Now, if you look also very clearly here, you'll see a couple more land features, and that's a draw and a spur, okay? A draw and a spur, if you look right here at my fist, okay, a spur is a jutting piece of land with the contour lines, okay, that are shooting off of the mountain, off of the high ground. In between two of these spurs is a draw. Okay, it's a lower piece of land, and here you can see it. If you look right here, you'll see this is a spur and this is a spur. Okay, and then right in between both of them is a draw. Okay, so the land, it's coming down on these spurs. Although this one here is a cliff, this one does continue coming down, and in between them, where the land angles up. Okay, this is a draw. So it's a very simple thing to find. And there you go. So we found a lot of things already, okay? We found the hilltop, the ridge line, the saddle, the draw, the spur, the valley, the river, okay? Then we also have man-made objects like we've spoken about before, okay? These are on the map right here. And then another thing we have to find is a depression. Now, depressions on here are going to be circled contour lines, but with slash lines going inwards. And they're going to look more like, they're going to look more like this right here. You'll have, for example, a gravel pit. Now there are some gravel pits here. Almost, I can't find it because we do have a lot of gravel pits in this area. Okay, and it's going to look like this right here. You see the land's falling down into it. Now there should be some gravel pits on this side right here. I happen to know where there's a few of them at. Just got to see if I can find them. They're running along quite often along the river here, this valley right here. But I'm not seeing them right now. And they've been cut out into the walls here because there are lots of gravel in this area. I don't see them. They may be on the map, the 1205. Okay. Because if you look at the map, you can see the high points. You can see what I'm talking about when it comes to the terrain. You know, the higher points right here, the valleys, okay, higher points right here, the draws, everything, all right? So this is the basic terrain features that you find on a map, all right? And these are important to learn, know, memorize, and see, be able to see when you're on a map, okay? Here, if you look at this map right here, I mean, look at this map. I mean, there's so much population, human population here. There's so many man-made objects here. It's almost impossible to get lost, okay? And this is why it's important to throw out those GPSs and to learn land navigation, map reading, and how to use a compass and how to put both of them together, which we're going to do in another video. But it's important to do that and to learn that. Because when it comes down to it, and there's a good example, I've been watching videos here recently, and what I've seen are videos of people talking about how they just do not have those skills. They never learned them. They've been using GPSs, especially the younger generation of kids and people. They just are not used to it. They're used to being on the trail. And being on the trail has its advantages, but also being able to stay found has its advantages also above all that. Right now, if we're looking, and this is going to be, if we look at the situation happening right now in the war in Ukraine, a lot of the Russian troops are not trained in basic land navigation skills. And so a lot of their tanks don't have GPSs like we see in the West. The men don't know how to do land navigation. The Ukrainian army and the Ukrainian people have taken down all of the signs. So they don't know where they're at. There's no sign into a village. They have no idea, unless they sort of break into someone's house and find some mail or something like that. but they just don't have this information and they don't know how to use a map and compass. And or their leaders are the only ones who have it, and then if they get taken out or they get lost or they are decommissioned very early in the situation, and that's where we saw lines of troops who were completely lost in the very early stages of the war. Now they're more fixed. They're not really advancing right now, so they sort of tend to know where they're at when you're fixed, But when you're not and you're moving, and you see lots and lots of activity where people are getting lost and getting in trouble because of it. So this is what we've seen. All right, and you cannot count on technology all the time. All right. I can't show you my phone, but of course I have GPS on my phone. And I also have a couple applications that have topographic maps on them, and they're very nice. But the problem is that you're using a lot of battery, and I like to use my phone for other things, like turning it off and putting it in my pocket. And if I need a phone, I got my phone on me. And if I take some pictures and some videos, this kind of stuff, I'd rather use my phone in this capacity than the GPS that's on it, When I'm driving, of course, or if I'm walking around inside of a city or something like that, a city I don't have a map, and I quickly want to go from A to Z, then that's a little bit different. I will pull my phone out and use the GPS on it. But that's not very often. I don't go to a lot of places that, like that. I usually study up before I go, or I have some kind of city map on me. But the problem with that is that you walk around a map in your hand, you look so much like a tourist, and you want to sort of not look like a tourist. So it's not bad having your phone on you. People are always on their phones, so you can get away with having your GPS on your tracker and seeing where you're at and where you want to go with an address or this kind of stuff. But it's important to learn these skills, how to use this and how to use this, and not just the basic level, but to master it. We had to master land navigation in the Army, and we had to master it very quickly, especially if you want to be promoted, especially in the field that I was in. We lived and we died by land navigation, because you need to know where you were at all times. And that goes back to the key of my thought is that if you don't want to get lost, stay found. And the only way to stay found is always know where you're at, in reference to the map and compass, okay? And there's some guys out there whom I served with or who have served, and they've been to some schools where the instructor come up and say, hey, where am I at on the map? So you need to know. Anyway, this is a very important skill to learn, and we're going to delve in more in the future videos. And I hope that this one has brought some light to you. Like I said, we have a lot more to learn on this. Now we're going to learn how to basically read the map, how to use the map, because it's a tool, how to use it to go from A to B and then somewhere else again using the map and compass, okay? These tools right here. And all you need are these two things right here to basically do all that, okay? So that's the next video coming up. So that was a very quick video on basic map information for a map. I hope I haven't forgotten something or haven't left anything out. I've been doing this for so long. I'm not using any kind of papers or anything like that to follow along with. I'm just, no notes or anything like that. I'm just basically going off of my own memory, my own experiences. And so I hope that this has been informational for you and enlightening for you. Like I said before, if you have any questions, please leave them down below in the comment section. If I've forgotten something, let me know. There is going to be a part 3 and 4 to all this. The next part, we're going to delve more into more advanced, well, I say advanced skill. We're still at the basic level here. This is still all basic stuff, but we're going to talk about going from A to B. That's the next level. But anyway, I hope you all have enjoyed this part of the video again, and I hope you all give me a like, a thumbs up, subscribe, share, and leave comments on the video. I really want to hear back from you. And I hope that, like I said, this has been helpful. And I hope to hear back from you again soon. Everybody have a good evening, because it is evening here. You see on my clock back there what time it is? Okay, I think it's like at 10:30 at night. I'm doing this right. It was so hot during the day. It was 30 degrees Fahrenheit all day, 30 degrees Celsius today. Excuse me, I did go out today, but it was so hot. And it just wasn't comfortable to be out in the sun and stuff doing this. So I decided, well, I'll wait till it's a little bit cooler tonight in the comfort of my apartment and on my kitchen table. And anyway, I hope you all have enjoyed this video. And like I said, I'll talk to you very, very soon, and look out for the next video. Have a good evening. Bye.